All right, hello, people. Welcome to the latest episode of In Justin's Mind. Here we are on Friday, November 27th, the day after Thanksgiving. Um, I'm going to talk about the North Carolina versus Notre Dame football game. It's a big matchup. Notre Dame is number 2 in the nation, traveling to Chapel Hill to face number 19 North Carolina. I didn't realize Notre Dame was 18-2 all time against Carolina. That's pretty impressive. I mean, I feel like, first of all, I can't believe they played that many times because I don't ever really remember them playing any, but maybe twice in my lifetime. So they must have been, battles way back in the day. But both teams are pretty good. I mean, obviously ranked. Notre Dame undefeated. North Carolina with 2 losses, one to Florida State, one to Virginia, who always seems to beat them every year. But definitely a big matchup. This is 2 years in a row that Carolina's had a big matchup at home, as last year they faced number 1 Clemson. We all know how that ended with Carolina going for 2 at the end and failing. So, maybe that was going to be the case again. Carolina coming off a bye week, had a lot of time to prepare for this. So we expected big things out of them, I think. And it definitely started off that way as Carolina, their first possession, marched down the field, scored a touchdown. Definitely a good way to start for them. We thought we were going to be off to the races in a high scoring game. If you remember Carolina's last game, it was very high scoring as well. North Carolina pretty much, has no defense really. Their defense is definitely the bad part of their game. Their offense is one of the best in the country, really. So not a surprise that they got off to a fast start. And really, once Carolina scored, things were kind of off to the races. As Notre Dame went down and scored 7-7. Carolina came back and scored again 14-7. Notre Dame scored again 14-14. Right off the bat, first quarter, 14-14. We're expecting a high scoring game, and then things just really slowed down. It was kind of crazy. I mean, things literally just creeped from there. Nobody scored again until about a minute left in the second quarter when Carolina made a field goal. And then, of course, Notre Dame gets another field goal right there at the end before halftime to tie it up. So it was, it was kind of like, okay, well, we're tied at 17 at halftime. Notre Dame came in as a 5-point favorite. If you're a betting man, a lot of people were betting on them to cover that spread. So, if you pick them, obviously you won. The over-under was 71. They didn't even come close to that. Only 48 total points scored in this game. I would have thought that 71 is pretty high. I mean, I don't care who's playing. So I think you had to take the under on that for sure. If you took the over, wow, holy crap, you think these defenses are even worse than they actually are. Looking at the stats, obviously in the second half of the scoring, basically nothing happened until, Notre Dame scored on their first possession, a touchdown, and then nobody scored again until a minute left in the game, and Notre Dame scored another touchdown. Carolina never really got close to scoring in the second half. Notre Dame's defense is really good. Their offense is pretty good too, but really their defense is probably what's going to win them games. Their quarterback does some crazy. I mean, their quarterback's got to remind you a little bit of Johnny Manziel, I guess. So, that'll be interesting. He had one play where he just flips the ball as he's getting sacked, and somehow their tight end catches it for a first down. That was a big play. I mean, that's one of those plays where if they go on to win the championship, that their fans and the players probably talk about forever. I mean, that's the play of the year probably for them. I know it came kind of not in a big game, but I mean, if they lose that game, they're probably knocked out of the playoffs. So, I mean, now I think they're, if they can finish off the regular season undefeated, they're probably in the 14 playoff, which is kind of crazy that, don't get me started on the 14 playoff. Another thing I want to talk about is Carolina, obviously, with, the inspirational words on the back of their uniforms. Yeah, whatever. It's that some of them make no sense. I mean, you had one that said fear, one that said kings and queens. Just it's like, can we just allow them to put whatever they want now? Like I told one of my friends during the game, I was like, hey, I'd like for mine to say pineapple pizza. Like, why not? Like, let's just let them put whatever they want. I mean, I liked it when it was just their name, but whatever. Now we're putting whatever. So, but looking at the stats, Sam Howell, 17 for 27, 211 yards, 1 touchdown. 211 yards. We probably need more from him to win a big game like this, especially when you look at our top rusher only had 57 yards. That's going to be tough to, that's going to be tough to beat, really. I mean, we need a lot more passing to win big games like this. If you look at Notre Dame's side, Book 23 to 33 for 279 yards. That's pretty good. But then you put in his rushing where he had 48 yards. I mean, that guy, he was the player of the game for sure. Sam Howell, on the other hand, 2 rushing yards. So big difference there. Nobody for Carolina really had too many catches. I guess Daz Newsome had 6, but only for 64 yards. Brown had 84 yards on 4 catches, so that's pretty good. I mean, he's definitely Carolina again. I mean, a great offense. Surprisingly, that they only put up 17 points. That's they're obviously never going to win a game with only scoring 17 with that defense. So they got to score. I mean, they have to score 30 plus to win. But it's still, I don't know. I don't really know what happened in this game. Notre Dame kind of milked the clock a little bit. They definitely won the time of possession battle. It was good to see Carolina make their only field goal. I mean, that's always a plus. Their punter, had some few good punts today. That's good. He's had some questionable ones. You look at like the team stats. Yeah, I mean, Notre Dame won the time of possession by 11 minutes. Tough for Carolina to win a game like that. You can't expect their defense to be on the field that long and hold people down. It's just not going to happen. Again, maybe once this defense gets a little older, I think they can step up. But where they're at right now, they can't be on the field that long and expect to win. No turnovers in the game for either team. That's kind of weird. But, Carolina doesn't really turn the ball over that much. And Notre Dame's an experienced team. You expect them not to turn over the ball, especially against Carolina's defense. But obviously it was a great game. I mean, they even showed at one point LeBron James tweeted about the game. We all know he's probably a Notre Dame fan this year. I mean, or maybe an Alabama fan or a Clemson fan. Who knows? He roots for all the winning teams. I don't think he really has a favorite anything. He doesn't even have a favorite team that he plays on. As he'll probably go somewhere else here in a couple of years. That's a different story. The Notre Dame running back Williams, 124 yards. Their blocking is unbelievable, and they got 3 good tight ends that can catch the ball. They really do play a good style. Like, I like their offense a lot. If I was a coach, that's probably how I would want to play. Carolina is more of Carolina runs the ball a lot too. I mean, really, they do. But it's a different style. So I think another big loss for Carolina. I'll probably knock them out of the top 25, I would assume. Which maybe they're probably around 25th best team in the country, really. I think, looking back at their schedule, they probably should have beat Florida State and Virginia. But still a young team, really. I mean, you're looking at next year as Carolina's big year, probably, if things continue on. Maybe next year they're a top 10 team. I could easily see that. Notre Dame, on the other hand, this is probably their year. They're probably going to fall off a little bit after this year. Be interested to see if they stick around in the ACC, though. I'd like to see them stick around in the conference. I think it's stupid that they don't have a conference. Doesn't even make any sense at all. I think every team should have a conference nowadays. Looking ahead to the rest of this year, though, Carolina plays Western Carolina next week. Western only played 2 games this year, so, I mean, who really knows? I mean, that game might not even be played with the coronavirus going around. And then North Carolina finishes the season at Miami. Obviously, I mean, I guess that's a big game because it could be 2 ranked teams, but they're not really going to be playing for anything at that point. I mean, unless something crazy happens and Clemson or Notre Dame fall apart, and then all of a sudden Miami might have a chance for the title, which, could happen. I mean, you never know, really. But overall, I mean, good. It was a good game today. We all expected it to be a good game. Definitely the best game I think that was on today. Probably the best game of the weekend since LSU has really stumbled this year because them and Texas A&M was supposed to be a big game, especially with Texas A&M probably maybe could be in the playoff if they win out. But looking at the season stats for Carolina, I mean, Sam Howell, 2,600 yards. I mean, that's pretty freaking good. Carolina's really, just a young team. We're hoping next year they improve a little bit and, they get a little better. It was good to see some fans at the game. I don't know exactly how many they can have. I don't really keep up with that. That's whatever. I'm not too concerned about what's going on with the coronavirus, and all the rules make zero sense to me. But I know they say Notre Dame has a easy game next week with Syracuse, and then they play Wake Forest again, or not again, but they come back to the state of North Carolina to play again when they play Wake Forest. So theoretically, I think Notre Dame should win out and then play Clemson again in the conference title game, which is probably going to be to see which team makes the playoff. I think the losing team probably doesn't make the playoff. It's hard for me to imagine two teams from the same conference making the playoff again, but it's college football. Who knows? It's still kind of crazy that there's only 4 teams in the playoff. It seems like you jump it up to 8 now, or 12, or at least 6, something more than 4. You're telling me out of 120 some odd teams that there's only 4 that are worthy of a playoff is ridiculous. Maybe one day it'll be North Carolina. If they keep expanding it, maybe North Carolina can make it one day. But on the opposite side of the page, just, football season's almost over, so basketball has started. Check out my other video where I talked about the basketball game the other night. Obviously, that's a little more exciting as North Carolina should have a really good basketball team this year, which obviously they pretty much always have a better basketball team than football. I mean, of course, it is a women's soccer school, as they have 20-something championships there, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, hopefully y'all enjoyed the game today. I know I definitely enjoyed. Penalties really killed Carolina. That happens a lot, and I think I think that's goes back to Larry Fedora. Larry Fedora, the previous coach, didn't really recruit defense and had a lot of people that had an attitude problem and would get a lot of penalties called, and that's kind of still trying to get over that. But yeah, penalties definitely killed him. I mean, Notre Dame lined up 4th and 1, just trying to get them offsides. No way they were going to go for it at their own 24. And what does Carolina do? Jump offsides. Yeah, brilliant. Awesome. You got to know they're not going to hike that ball at their own 24 in the third quarter. And then they had an unsportsmanlike penalty. Let's see, in the 4th, Carolina was at the 40-yard line of Notre Dame, probably just outside of field goal range. And it was 4th and it was going to be 4th and 8 or something, but, maybe you go for it because there was only 5 or 6 minutes left, but, then a unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. So then all of a sudden, now all of a sudden it's 4th and 20 something. It's okay, well, we definitely can't go for it now. So it's, it's penalties, man. Penalties will kill them. And then they had a couple of drop passes too, which was uncharacteristic. The offense line had 0 blocking. Howell was under pressure all day. He does hold on to the ball a little too long, but sometimes you can't really blame him, I guess. Maybe the receivers aren't really getting open. As today, it didn't look like he ever really had an open receiver. Ever. He did have one long pass called back because of holding. Like I said, penalties really kind of killed him. I think Carolina could have scored at least again, one more touchdown, and it could have changed the game. But you'd think the way that it started, by scoring 2 touchdowns in the first quarter, I think as a Carolina fan, we thought, hey, we might have a chance. And I think by the time the 4th quarter rolled around, we're only down by a touchdown. It was we all knew, though, no chance to win this game. It just, Notre Dame was wearing us down. Carolina only ran 50-something plays for the game. Normally they like to be closer up there to like 70 or something. But, I mean, who knows? But it was a good game. I mean, it was a good top 25 matchup. Gave us all something to watch here the day after Thanksgiving. And hopefully Carolina can just continue to improve. Like I said, I think they got a winnable game next week if they play against Western. Hopefully there's no letdown. Hopefully they come out, win by 30 like they're supposed to. And then hopefully they can finish the season off with a big win at Miami. I think that would be a huge stepping stone into next year. And then as for the bowl game, I don't know. I don't care. Bowl games sometimes are meaningless. Who even knows if they're even going to play it? I don't see the point. The coronavirus is as bad as they say it is. You probably shouldn't be playing a meaningless bowl game, but whatever. That's not for me to decide. But it'll be it'll be interesting. I expect Notre Dame, like I said, AC championship game. All in all, a good year so far. Wish Carolina could win a big game like that. It's been a while since late in the season game, I don't remember last time Carolina really won a big late season game. We'll have to go back and look at that, but it's been a while. Of course, also, we have never really been a powerful football team. So, but anyways, thank you for listening to my thoughts on the game. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any comments or suggestions, feel free to comment on them. If you're listening, check the description of the video for my Cashapp and Venmo to donate if you want to help me get better equipment. And also check YouTube. Well, I'll be putting this on there as well, and Facebook also. So it'll be all over. You'll have a lot of places to watch it. And I definitely appreciate you all listening, and I definitely look forward to being on here again. So thank you all, and you'll probably hear from me one day next week.